commence its business, and this is pursuant to the House Standing Order number 40. If the quorum is not present, the House business cannot commence, and a quorum bell will be rung for 10 minutes. Of course, this is to alert members that the business of the House or the House is about to start its business, but cannot because the House does not have the required number of members in the chambers seated at the chambers for it to commence its business. So the quorum bell will be on. Members are expected to be walking in. We have seen the Nairobi Senator, Honorable Edwin Sifuna, who is also the Deputy Minority Whip, and he walked out of the chambers to see whether he will be seeing any members, but we saw him, of course, walking back into the chambers. Perhaps there are still no members within the precincts of Parliament, but of course the bell is to alert them that in case you are within the precincts of Parliament, then your presence inside the chambers is highly required to give way or to pave way for the commencement of the House business. Remember, this is a morning sitting on a Tuesday of the Senate, a day that is set aside to hear the impeachment proposals forwarded to the Senate by the Meru County Assembly. On Tuesday, the Senate resolved to hear and determine this particular case at plenary. So these accusations of the governor or against the governor will be heard at the plenary sitting with all the 67 members of the Senate in the chambers, and will have an opportunity to scrutinize what these charges are. 7 charges are facing the governor. One is on the misappropriation and misuse of county resources, and there are a number of particulars that are within this particular number 1 charge on the misappropriation of misuse of county resources. These particulars may include embezzled county funds through the governor's relatives. She's also accused of having withdrawn county funds through false claims of payment for supplies and service rendered by the governor's relatives, despite being ineligible to tender for or supply goods to the county governors. Those are just but a few of the particulars that the governor is said to have committed in charge number 1 on the misappropriation and misuse of county resources. Charge number 2, the governor is accused of nepotism and related unethical practices. In this case, having fraudulently represented unqualified relatives as a technical team for medical equipment inspection in China. Also employed one Edwin Mutuma Murangiri, a nephew to her husband, in a key county position. Also assigned diplomatic duties with engagements with foreign diplomats. And all right, the speaker has directed that a further 5-minute quorum bell be rung, of course, to allow the members to walk into the chambers. Let me take you back to what the quorum bell is all about. Earlier on, when the chair was taken by the speaker, a prayer was said, and according to the House Standing Order number 40, is that once the prayer is done and the House lacks the requisite quorum, that is 15 members in the chambers. As you can see, there are no members seated in the chambers. We can only see one senator, that is Honorable Edwin Sifuna, of course. There are also other members nominated, Senator Catherine Muma there. So if the House does not have a requisite number, that is 15 members in the chambers seated at the commencement of House business, then a quorum bell will be on for 10 minutes. We have seen the quorum bell being rung for 10 minutes. And according to the House Standing Order, is once the 10-minute quorum bell expires, the speaker may direct that the bell be rung for a further 10 minutes. In this case, the speaker has given that directive that another 10-minute quorum bell be rung. And once the second 10-minute quorum bell lapses and there is no quorum achieved yet, then the speaker shall adjourn the Senate forthwith to the next sitting. That is what the House Standing Order stipulate. And of course, we are hoping that the quorum will be achieved. Remember, the Senate normally on Tuesday sits at 2:30 p.m. in the plenary sittings or proceedings. But today, following the business that is before it, this morning sitting was set aside to have the impeachment hearing over the Meru Governor, Honorable Kawira Mwangaza. This is after the county resolved to have her removed from office by impeachment. And of course, according to the law, the Senate is the house that will be hearing this particular case. The House last week resolved to have the matter heard and determined in the plenary way, and that is what today should be happening at the Senate chambers. We are hoping that the number will be achieved, but of course, if it's not achieved, then the Speaker will guide the House on the way forward. What was expected this morning is that the Speaker was to give guidance on how the hearing or the process will go. The sitting was starting at around 9. The Speaker make a communication to the House to guide them on how the hearing, the impeachment of the governor will be taking place. It is scheduled to start today and conclude tomorrow on Wednesday. But of course, there has to be a communication on how it will go. And after the communication, the members were to retreat to a pre-hearing meeting. This is to be on a closed door session. So we will be waiting to hear from the Speaker on how he will be guiding the House forthwith if the quorum is not achieved. But we are hoping that the quorum will be achieved. At least 15 members are needed to be in the chambers for the commencement of the House to kick off. On Tuesday, when the House resolved to have the hearing of the impeachment be done the plenary way, according to the House Standing Order, is that within 10 days, it shall investigate the matter. So the House received the communication of the resolution of the County Assembly on Tuesday. And of course, from Tuesday, the Senate is counting 10 days to be able to investigate the matter. If the accusations are substantiated or not substantiated, then the communication or the way forward will be given. But remember, today marks the beginning of this impeachment hearing of the Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza. So if you're just joining us, that is a 10-minute quorum bell still on. Allow me to take a look at what the charges or accusations that have been leveled against the governor are. There are 7 charges. The first is the misappropriation and misuse of county resources, nepotism and related unethical practices. That is the Senator of Nairobi County, Honorable Edwin Sifuna, walking to this senator, of course, engaging him on how they will be picking up this matter if the House does not achieve the requisite quorum to enable it commence its business for this particular morning. Charge number 3 against the governor is that bullying, vilification, and demeaning other leaders. In this case, the governor is said to have excluded the deputy governor from county executive committee meetings and other official functions. The governor is also said to have engaged in bullying and posted demeaning messages about the deputy governor in WhatsApp groups. In this case, known as Third Government 012, the county admin services, whose membership includes several officers who are subordinate to the deputy governor. The governor is also accused of illegal appointments and usurpation of statutory powers. That she appointed Kenneth Mwiti Riungu as chief officer without county assembly approval. That she deployed other persons to perform the functions of those sent on compulsory leave, this being in breach of a court order. Also appointed unqualified persons as acting chief officers without the requisite competitive recruitment and recommendation from the County Public Service Board. She's also said to have recruited traffic marshals without involving the County Public Service Board, in this case disregarding the criteria for establishing county offices, that is the Kitui. Senator Honorable Enoch Wambua walking in, and of course we are hopeful that more members will be getting into the chambers, because this day has been set aside purposely to transact the business on the impeachment hearing over the Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza. The hearing is slated for today and tomorrow, Wednesday, the 8th of November. And the speaker, who has already taken the chair, is that was to make a communication this morning guiding the House on how this process will be taken through, and then the members were to proceed on a pre-hearing meeting in a closed session, but the members have not yet made their way to the chambers for that particular guidance or communication from the chair to know how they will be going about this matter. And that necessitated, or rather that is what has necessitated the 10-minute quorum bell. That is Narok Senator, who is also the minority whip, Honorable Olekina Ledama. They are getting in. So as the quorum bell is on, we will be seeing the members walking in. Once the quorum is achieved this time round, being hopeful that the sergeant at arms will alert the clerk and the speaker that the quorum has been achieved, and the speaker will call the House to order for the commencement of the House. But as you can see, no members yet to make the requisite quorum. At the table of the speaker, engagements are on, from the clerk to the a number of senators there. Of course, maybe engaging on how this will be picked up if the quorum is not achieved. But this is the second quorum bell. Remember, the first one has lapsed, and this is the second bell. That is the Vihiga Senator Godfrey Osotsi, and of course we will be hearing from the speaker on how he will be guiding the House the way forward if the quorum is not achieved. 15 members, just to remind you, or rather is the number that is required. The speaker is talking. Let's listen in.
The bell for a further 10 minutes.
Yet another 10-minute quorum bell. If the 10 minutes this time round lapse, that will be a cumulative of 30 minutes. Is it that the members were not aware that the sitting will be starting at 9? Maybe they thought it will be starting at 9:30 as the usual, or rather the normal plenary sitting, especially the one that is held on a Wednesday. It usually starts at 9:30. Perhaps the members will be making calls to their colleagues to remind them that this morning there was this sitting that is meant to be hearing the impeachment proposals from the County Assembly of Meru that resolved to have the Governor, Honorable Kawira Mwangaza, be removed from office by impeachment, and that the Senate on Tuesday resolved to have this matter be heard and determined at the plenary sitting, or the plenary way, Remember, the Senate last week found itself a bit sharply divided on how to, or rather the best approach to hear and determine this case, and the majority of the numbers resolved to have the matter be heard and determined at the plenary sitting. A number of impeachment hearings that have taken place at the Senate is that have been heard and determined at a committee level of 11 members, but this was not agreed upon last week when they were looking at the best approach to look at this matter, and the matter was resolved to be heard at the plenary. So this marks the first sitting and first day to hear the impeachment proposal as forwarded to the Senate. And this morning the House was to sit, get a communication from the Speaker and guide them on how to go about the case. Then the members are to proceed on a pre-hearing meeting, or rather retreat on a pre-hearing meeting in a closed session, then resume the sittings and be open to the public at around 11 a.m. So up until now, the chair, or rather the Speaker, has taken the seat. A few members are in the chambers, but the quorum is the elephant in the House. It has not been achieved yet. 15 members have not been able to make their way to the chambers to enable the House to commence its business. Of course, we can say that is paralyzing the House business this morning. And of course, we'll be waiting to see whether the quorum is achieved. If this quorum bell that is currently underway, it is another 10-minute quorum bell that is underway. It's a 10-minute. If the number is not achieved at the lapse of these 10 minutes, then it will be a cumulative of 30 minutes of waiting for the senators to make their way to the chambers for this sitting. Is it because it is a chilly morning, or maybe they thought that the sitting will start at 9:30? We will be waiting to see how that pans out. But as it is that today's morning sitting was the commencement or mark the beginning of the impeachment hearing of the governor of Meru. This is Honorable Kawira Mwangaza, having been accused of 7 charges by the County Assembly of Meru, and forwarded these charges and its resolution to the Senate to have the matter investigated and determined. 7 charges facing the governor. Earlier on, we looked at 4 charges. The 5th charge is that the governor is accused of contempt of court. She is said to have grossly violated Article 10 and 73 of the Constitution, Section 7 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, and Section 10 of the Public Officers Ethics Act, by engaging in a contumacious, stubborn refusal to obey lawful court orders. Charge number 6 that the governor is accused of is that illegally naming a public road after her husband. This includes grossly violated Articles 10 and 73 of the Constitution and Sections 7 and 11, 1C of the Meru County Owners and Awards Act 2018 by naming a public road after her husband without following the applicable statutory procedures. The last charge that the governor is being accused of is the contempt of the assembly. She is said to have refused to honor summons from the County Assembly's Sectoral Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Cohesion to answer questions related to the impeachment motion. Also directed her chief of staff to send a contemptuous letter to the assembly in response to the summons for her to appear before the sectoral committee. And through the CECM Finance, this is the Minister of Finance at the county level, and the county secretary refused to furnish documents to the Assembly on the grounds that an audit process was underway and that the matters raised by the Assembly were sub judice. These are some of the particulars within the 7 charges that the governor is accused of or is facing, and that the Senate at the plenary sitting is expected to investigate, scrutinize, and make a decision on whether these accusations that have been accused, or rather that have been leveled against the governor by the county assembly, will be substantiated or not. But remember, these accusations will be heard and determined at the plenary sitting, or rather the plenary sitting way. On Saturday, the two parties, the two sides forwarded, it was the last day for the two parties to be able to forward their submissions to the Senate. All right, those are more members. That is the Deputy Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Kathuri Murungi, of course, walking in, and followed by various members. Hopefully that the number this time round will be achieved. The time now is 9:33, and we can see the members walking in numbers. And in a few minutes, of course, we are hoping that the Sergeant at Arms will, indicate to us, or rather to the Speaker, that finally the quorum has been achieved. Nyeri Senator, they are walking in with the majority leader, Honorable Aaron Cheruiyot, you see. So the quorum has been achieved. The quorum has been achieved finally at 9:33. So allow me to hand you over to this live broadcast. Good morning.
Much later, kindly take your seats. Honorable Senator's order. Senator Ledama, kindly take your seat. Majority Leader. Majority Leader, you should be helping the chair to bring calm in the House. Clerk, you may proceed to call the first order.
Order number 1, communication from the chair.
Now, honorable senators, you will recall that at the sitting of the Senate held on Thursday, 2nd November 2023, I appointed Tuesday 7th and Wednesday 8th November 2023 as the days when the Senate will hear the charges for the proposed removal from office by impeachment of Honorable Kawira Mwangaza, the Governor of Meru County. Subsequently, a procedural motion for the alteration of the sitting time of the Senate for Tuesday 7th and Wednesday 8th November 2023 to facilitate the impeachment hearing against the Governor of Meru County was considered and approved by the Senate on Thursday 2nd November 2023. Consequently, a hearing program has been prepared and appended to today's order paper. Honorable Senators, as is the tradition, and in line with the schedule of activities for an impeachment hearing and plenary, the Senate will hold a closed preparatory session to discuss the management of the investigation. This is aimed at ensuring that the process is conducted seamlessly and concluded tempestuously, in line with the requirements set out under the County Governments Act and the Senate Standing Orders. I now, therefore, direct that all members of public, including the media, to withdraw from the galleries and any form of broadcast from the chamber to cease forthwith. The open session and hearing will thereafter commence at 11 a.m. as per the hearing program. I thank you.